Turning things over now to Elder Grange inside Transforming Your Relationships. Elder Grange, good evening.
Good evening, Reverend Rashane Douglas. Thanks again for all the amazing work that you're doing there in the background. I hope I'm coming over loud and clear. And thanks
Definitely.
again. Beautiful. Thanks. thanks. Thanks again for. I'm getting some feedback here.
It's on your side, but I think it's coming, it's fine over this end. So try it again. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, welcome again to. All right. All right. Thanks again for joining. Join again on Transforming Your Relationship. I'm Bonitto Grange, your relationship host. No.
Yes, we're hearing you. I'm not sure what's
Yeah.
happening. Is there,
Yeah.
can you explain what's happening over here and why,
No, I'm get. I, I don't know. I'm getting a feedback in the back with my voice coming over mine for some reason. It's the only system I've got on right now.
Okay. So let's work on that, and we'll be joining you shortly in a little while. All right, stay tuned.
Yes. Yeah. Do that.
HGG Radio.
One more time, Elder Grange. Let's hope everything is going well at this another try. We have to keep trying. That's what relationships are all about. When it doesn't work the first time, you try again, and the second time you try again, and you just keep on trying. Elder Grange, are you there, sir?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, we still have an issue. You're getting a double voice coming over my system here. I Yeah, we still have an issue. You're getting a double voice coming over my system
So I
here.
believe there's a device that's turned on somewhere. Not sure. I can't pick up where a device is being turned on, and it's the reason why it's coming back into the system. So I'm guessing you could probably double check to see if the radio is on or something from that end, or I'm not sure what's happening. All right, let's look at that in a little while.
Radio is on or something, and from that end, I'm not sure what's happening.
So that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing like there's a feedback as it relates to maybe it's coming
That's right.
from there. So
I'm not
let's
sure.
restart
It's not
again
on
and
my
let's
end.
see
Can you
what
hear me
happens.
now?
Right?
I'm hearing like there's a feedback as it relates.
All right. So Elder Grange will be working on that for us in a little while. Let us ask you again just to stand by and for the program Transforming Your Relationships with Elder Bonitto Grange. We'll be joining him in just a little while. Stay tuned. This is Higher Ground Gospel Radio, reaching at the highest mountain and the Clive in the background as well. We're going to try and see if we can.
We're good.
We're good to go. Not sure what happened a while ago, but thank God we're good. We are good. Praise the Lord Jesus. Of course, we have the relationship man, the man that knows how to make it work. And now we're good. And it's like, life coaching at its best. You just have to keep trying. And good evening.
Absolutely, we're all a work in progress. Thank you again, Rashane. My apologies, folks. For some reason, I wasn't aware. I had my system on in the background of my laptop and another screen, which I thought it was off. It came on accidentally for whatever reason. But anyway, we're here now, and we should have Yvonne Campbell online also. Pastor Clive Atkinson, you're on also.
Yes, sir.
All right. Yvonne, are you Yvonne Campbell? Are you on? Yvonne Campbell. She might be having some difficulties coming on. She was the guest. She was the guest and the glue here tonight. So joining us would have been joining us is Pastor Clive Atkinson, and a good friend of mine, which we've known for quite a few years. And for some that don't know him, I'll let him give his little introduction here for those that might be listening for the first time. Yvonne Campbell also is supposed to be joining us. She was supposed to be tuning in from Jamaica. She's the main host and originator of a program internationally called Marriage Matters, which you will hear about when she comes on. So for those that are listening, Pastor Clive, yeah, just give us a few minutes about yourself so they'll know who you are, the man of the hour.
Praise the Lord again, everybody. I'm so grateful to be here one more time. Just sharing this experience with you. It's been a blessing. It was a blessing last week, and just to be on this platform with the pro.
We work together.
I hear you. So my name is Pastor Clive. Just a simple brother, a humble brother, just trying to help somebody with in whatever way, shape, or form that I can. There's nothing much to me. It's just what you see is what you see.
All
And I give
right.
God thanks for what He's doing in our midst.
Thank you for sharing that, sir. Much appreciate you. Much appreciate your time. And for those that are coming on for the first time about myself, I've been married for 36 years, just finished celebrating my 36-year anniversary, November the 29th. She's still beautiful. She still loves me. We're still in love. We're still playful. We still flirt. Yeah, even after 36 years, folks, we still flirt. So it's been good. I've been doing this couples coaching or couples mentoring for, I guess, over 15 years, along with some work that we have done in our church. And just the conversations that we've been having previously to some have said that it's basically helped their marriage to survive. And sometimes it's just take another eye to just take a look at the situation, and with a bit of training that we have from behind us, we can just try to pull things together. But at the end of the day, it's the individual that want to make it work. So I let folks know that I can't guarantee a relationship, but I can almost guarantee that with those that sign up with me and those that we have conversation with, that you'll be thinking differently where your life is concerned, and also about the relationship that you have. It'll just give you a different mindset of looking at things from a different perspective. And so that's a little bit there about me. So Yvonne Campbell, are you in yet?
While we're waiting on Yvonne, I just want to let the listeners know that I have the opportunity around 9 years ago, going on 10 years ago,
that long.
For Elder Grange to had counsel me before premarital counsel, and the premarital counsel session that was done, I'm telling you, I took, if not 90%, I would say 80% out of what we have gone through in my relationship, and I'm telling you, it works. It works. And no relationship is going to be perfect, but it's important for us to, before marriage, we get somebody like yourself, Mr. Grange, to be able to just shed some light, because being in the counsel session, it was an eye opener. There are things that we don't even think about.
Mm-hmm.
That while you're going through the counseling, you start to think about, and then it challenged you to make sure is this really what you want to do? Is this really what, the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with? Mm-hmm. And it challenged me as a person, but our relationship was solid, and we give God thanks for that.
Amen.
And then in the relationship itself, there come challenges, and some of the things that we learned or have learned, we have go back over them and just apply them to our life. And one of the things that I remember, one of the session that you were talking to us about, this is 10 years now.
Wow. You got a good memory, because I can't remember.
Oh yeah, I don't forget. I remember things from when I was 2 years old. So.
You're dangerous.
So one of the thing was, we being two adults coming together. It's not like we're a teenager, we're kids, we're young adults. We're 20s. We were in our 30s. I was like maybe 39, going on 40. But it says that we must treat each other as adult. And trust me, when you start to think about those little things, you're in the relationship and you're treating each other like adults. She's not my daughter. I'm not her son. And, we have just never have an argument since. So we
Wow.
give God thanks for
Mhm.
sir. So for those that need a person to kind of help you along the way, and even if you're married and you having issues, I recommend you, sir, as a coach that I would vouch for to say yes, be able to get help. And of course, you yourself, we have to put in the work as well, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Marriage is work. I try to shy away from work. Marriage is something you have to be intentionally conscious about on a regular basis. When I say work, Pastor Clive, when some folks says work, it makes it seem like it's so hard, right? But it's a new venture. It's a new it's something new that folks are embarking on. Just one second, Roshane. Yvonne is trying to get in. Could you just check on her there? She said she's on but not acknowledged. Maybe there's something more that needs to be done to get her in. So thanks for sharing that, Pastor Clive. And yes, you know what? When two come together, yes, okay, yeah, we just like anything else. Yes, you have to work at it. You have to be intentional about it. You have to be focused. And basically, you have to know what you want. There's three questions I'll ask couples, whether they're pre-marital, whether they're married for 10, 15, 20 years. Three questions I basically ask, and these three questions can generate a conversation for half an hour, if not more. Is what is it that you really want? If you don't know what you really want in your relationship, or really want where you're at even before you start, you have to know that, right? And not only that, why do you want what you said that you want? Number two. And number three, what is it that you need to do in order for you to get what you want? If you can answer those three, it will shift your mindset, get you to think a little bit deeper than just saying, well, I want this and I need to have this, whatever the case might be. But asking those questions can basically dive a little bit deeper, and you can acknowledge what is happening at that time. Yvonne Campbell, are you there, my sister?
No, we're still trying to connect her. I'm trying to get her to come on StreamYard.
Okay.
So just send me your number off air and I will definitely get her connected. All right.
All right. Well, I'll help you work on the background. So, Pastor Clive, we can continue on. Our topic tonight is sorry, folks, those are listening for the interruptions that we've been having here, but we will continue on. Our topic here tonight is naked and not ashamed. Uh, when we say that naked, like what does that really mean when we say naked and not ashamed? There's a lot that just goes into that alone. What is naked and being ashamed? I believe that God's intent for a man and a wife is to leave and cleave, to leave mother and father. There's different types of relationship, but marriage is like an extra. It's like a valued, added relationship. Not that others aren't valued, and not that there's not others that are not added, but this is a valued, added relationship, which is unique in itself, and every relationship that we have is unique also, in itself. So the intimacy in marriage is an important and beautiful part of God's plan for marriage. Without intimacy in your relationship, you can mark it down. You will have just a boring relationship. It's going to be a boring marriage. You might end up start looking over the fence. But when we think about intimacy, Pastor Clive, how important, and we're going to go through a few questions here. How important do you feel intimacy is in a relationship? And what does it mean when we say naked and not ashamed?
Oh boy.
Loaded question, eh? Naked, and we can be straight up. I mean, we have adults that's listening on here. And
Well, the topic that you have here, naked and not ashamed, it's pretty much, your spouse will be able to see you in the light that they see you as a person, and not feeling any way funny. You have some persons who are and maybe I'm thinking above and beyond. Some
Mm-hmm.
persons are insecure about themselves. Some
Mm-hmm.
persons are have self-esteem issues,
Right.
so they feel ashamed. They, like I'll just tell it for myself. I'm a very shy person.
Okay, that makes two of us.
I remember when I got married, my wife, she's not a shy person, even though she's very quiet. She's not shy. And I'm there being the shy one, trying to go take a shower by myself and trying to I'm getting dressed and I'm make sure the bathroom door is closed and stuff like that, right?
Okay.
But when you are comfortable with your spouse,
Right.
you don't feel ashamed of them regardless of what. And you don't want your spouse to ever feel because they have
Mm-hmm.
one child, two child, three children, so forth and so on. Then now they can't becomes open to you
Right.
as a
Okay.
person. These things happen, right? And the lady you marry without children, with everything is up, things are start to go down south, and you have to love the person, and you can't let them feel any way different because gravity is having its way.
Mm.
So,
That goes for us men too, Pastor Clive.
yeah,
That goes for both of us, men and women, actually.
that
Gravity does
goes for both of us. That goes for both. So it is important for us to embrace each other in whatever capacity, to make sure that the person does not feel timid and feeling as if they don't feel comfortable.
Mm.
And that's from that stand that I'm taking, being naked and not ashamed with, right? And
Mm.
I guarantee you that it's like a ball. You can look at it from different handles. You can look at it from different um, spectrum.
Right.
You can look at it from different ways, and of course it's a relationship we're talking about. A lot of persons are not comfortable, and you talk to people, and some people are just not comfortable. They're not even
Mm.
comfortable making love in the daytime. It has to be nighttime.
But yeah, okay. For some, it's got to be the lights off. Totally. I
Yeah.
get you.
So what it is? One of these days we're gonna have to get some persons to call in, like what it is, like to bring that spark in the relationship. I don't think it should be whether daytime, nighttime, or it's whatever. When you love somebody, you love them. You
Mm.
love to see them in whatever light, whether it's moonlight or sunlight. It doesn't matter. Love is just love. You just love that person. Now, when you take out the love making out of the equation, as you said earlier, you will have persons start to think and wonder and start to want to, and and you can say what you want to say, being a Christian, yes or no. You're human, and that feelings is gonna be there unless you devote yourself to be a eunuch. Yes, sir.
When you say naked and not ashamed, I thought it was just a befitting topic just to dive into. Um, I won't mention a culture, but some folks might be, because there's certain cultures that it's really a challenge for them to be fully naked. Genesis, I believe Genesis 2 and 24, 25, it says a man, it talks about leaving and cleaving. It also talks about, and they were naked and they were not ashamed. And
Yeah.
uh, to be in a position like that is to know that you see me as I am, I see you as you are, and I'm not here to judge you or vice versa. We don't have to be ashamed of one another, because if you are the woman that God has placed in my life, if you are the man that God has placed in my life, the only way that we can get on the next level is that we have to be fully naked. We can't we can't hide certain things, and the reason why, what shuts down intimacy and what shuts down that nakedness is that we feel shame of what has to be brought out. We feel shameful of expressing, because let's be real. There's some of our past that we have, individuals have gone through certain of their past, and it's pretty. Some of it has pretty been traumatic. It's been pretty hurtful and everything else, and it might be hard to bring some of that up. But I believe too, when we can share those feelings with our mate, right, with our spouse, it also gives us a bit of more liberty. It also gives us more freedom. I've been married, like I said, we're talking about naked and not ashamed, and intimacy here in your relationship. I've been married for 36 years, and just a while ago here, there are certain things I didn't know about my wife even growing up. I thought I had it all down pat, Pastor Clive. I thought I kind of knew the ins and the outs, but I didn't go beyond the surface to know a little bit more about her. So no matter how long you have been married, you're always going to find out some more details about your spouse that can create a better form of intimacy where that is concerned. So when we talk about, I don't know, is Yvonne Campbell, are you in the background there? It says she needs to enter the studio. Rashane, I'm not sure what's happening there. She needs to enter the studio. Just give me one. Just give me 1 sec. We're trying to get a hold. We're trying to get.
While you're doing that, Elder, um, you know, everybody has their sex drive is different. Some men sex drive is higher than some ladies, and some ladies sex drive is higher than some men. It's not
right.
like it's just man alone have a high sex drive or vice versa. It becomes where the two party, where one may have a higher, one may have a lower. Now I've known couples that I try to engage and talk to and trying to counsel, where one person is having a wants to be more engaged, and then you have the other party is like, man, once a month is good enough for me. And it comes with the different challenges, and you have a person who wants to walk out of the relationship because to them they want to have more intimacy. And when you're getting married to somebody, you have to know all these different things, and of course you also, life changes as well. You have ladies that when they go through menopause, maybe it's flipped around. You know what I mean? Like, there's the person that you're marrying. The both of you have to be able to come to a place where you love each other to the point where you don't want the other person to feel any way neglected,
Right.
in whatever aspect of that relationship. So I'll just share this with you, Elder, is that somebody called me last week and they wanted me to counsel a couple. They wanted to get married when they called me. So I said, have you get any counseling yet? She said, no. And I said, when are you planning on marrying? They said, in 2 weeks. I said, that's too quick. So when I was there talking to them, I have just 2 hours, an hour and a half, 2 hours the most. And I almost have them changing their mind by the time I finish, because there are things that I just go right to the root of the whole thing, because there are things that, persons bring into relationship in their past that they were not forthright telling, and it becomes would have been an hindrance in the relationship. So, it's, as we were talking about naked and not ashamed. So now they come into the relationship and they were not fully naked and say, this is me. They were not fully naked, as in, here I am as a person. I am telling you everything about me, and you need to know this is me, regardless of what. So it is important for us, as people, to make sure that, when you're getting married, or you're planning on getting married, is to be able to come naked before the person. Not talking about your birthday suit now. I'm talking about just being open as a person, and say, here, this is my faults. This is what I bring to the table. That's another way to look at nakedness. To be open. To be, here I am as an individual, with all my pain, with all my
Mm,
hurt, with all my
mm,
scars. I've been in relationship in the past where this is what it leave me, and this is where I'm at. You know what I mean? So that you can go into it with all your I's dot or your T's crossed.
I hear you loud and clear. I think I mentioned this before. I have and those that are listening online, and if they're interested, they can always connect with me. tlcbonitogrange.com, or my phone number is 780-905-7134. So I have what's called a red flag assessment, which I'm going to be doing coming up shortly here one Friday. So for those that are thinking about getting married, thinking about getting into a relationship, there's some questions that's on there that you need to ask. It's probably about 30 questions, and it's a conversation that I usually have with individual. But some individual, you can ask yourself, am I willing to live with 10% red flag, 30% red flag, 40% red flag? I mean, if you're willing to live with that, then you're saying, if nothing changes, I'm going to be okay. But if things change, I'm still going to be okay. But what generally will happen, from what I've seen over the years, is what an individual thought they could live with now becomes a challenge for them to live with, because when you're in love, you're in that honeymoon stage, you feel that you can get over anything, that you can live with anything, and this will change. But we never get married with the intention that uh, this person will change. We have to accept the individual as they are, with all their faults, with all their ins and their out. We need to accept them. If you're not willing to accept them as they are, then you know what? It's time that you bow out just patiently, quietly, before you actually tie the knot. So when we're talking about, so going back here to talk about what causes intimacy issues, there are some main intimacy killers. There's couples out there that they're married, but for some reason the husband or the wife, could be either or, want to be playful, and or want to be able to touch them, want to be able to hold them, and they find it, the individual that is being touched, find it awkward. And I'm not talking about after 6 months of marriage. I'm talking about after a few years, or whatever the case might be. And my question is, I guess my thought around that is that, I'd like to explore, a little bit about what is the reason for that, what causes that challenge, right? As Yvonne Campbell, for some reason, she couldn't get on, but for last year's put in the chat, they're like, one of the major challenges in intimacy is faulty and definitely unrealistic expectation. I'm expecting that when I get in, he's going to be able to love me. I'm expecting I'll be able to be held, and all of those good things, right? But going back to us not wanting to be touched, not wanting to be held. Yes, you're being held in the bedroom. Yes, you're at that height of that intimate act with your husband. You're making love and everything else, but outside of that, now it's like, don't touch me. Like it's funny. So I think there's baby steps that has to be taken to kind of break down that barrier, because to have a man or to have a woman and not been able to go and to hug, and even to hug for a good 30 seconds or 20 seconds or 10 seconds, it should be a norm. But if you haven't been brought up with that with that in that environment, it becomes strange to you, and it will take some time before you can be that man and release yourself to that woman, or vice versa, so you can have another level of intimacy. So intimacy killers, Pastor Clive, I mean, what are some what would you say are some main intimacy killers?
The
Main
intimacy
intimacy.
killers are, intimacy does not start in the bedroom. That's the first thing we need to know.
Absolutely.
It doesn't start in the bedroom. And, for us as men, it's easy to get it up,
Mm. On the
right?
spot. That's right. We don't take no time at all.
We don't take no time.
That's a man.
We just, wife come from the bathroom, we're ready to go.
That's right.
But
That's how
for
it goes.
her, she's one of those train that, you used to use coal, slowly burn until it gets there, until it warms up, right? So it starts from you being at work, sending that text message. Nowadays we can do FaceTime.
Right.
Nowadays we can, and I don't want to say like one brother. One brother will say, "Oh, you call his wife and says, well, tonight I want something at time," right? But
Mm.
you don't even have to say much. You just have to be able to call and set the mode. Sweetheart, tonight I don't want you to cook. I'll be picking up dinner. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you're coming home and you're just setting the stage for that moment, and so that you don't just run in and run out,
Mm.
and it will kill certain things, and other things that will be intimate killer um, a killer
Intimacy
will
killers,
be
right?
the quality time that you spent.
Right.
And it's not necessarily, well, that person don't understand, elder, is not the act of sex, is really the length, is the quality time with your spouse that you can spend, whether rubbing the hair, whether rubbing the back, whether doing a massage. There's other things that can happen in the meantime before the really act off, so that the person can feel comfortable within themselves, feeling loved, and feeling wanting you as a person. But if you're going to be coming home and you're going to be arguing for whatever reason, and then when the time come and you expect it, you, it's not going to work the way how you desire it to work. It won't happen. It has to be pleasantable. It has to. It's just like somebody gonna serve you some food and they're just gonna just give it to you like that. You know what I mean?
You like the
It
steak, but the
I
stuff is
like my I
good.
like my food kind of, when I cook my wife dinner, I portion it out. It looks more palatable on her plate than it does on mine. I just throw mine together, but hers, I'll get a cup and I'll put the rice in on the cup, and I'll put the meat beside, and I'll get some ketchup and slide it on the slide and make some decoration, all that kind
Okay.
of stuff, right?
I'm
But
listening.
so those are stuff that will help to enhance, so that yeah.
Thanks for sharing all that. Absolutely. You can tell we've been around the block a few times, right? When when it comes to just knowing how to treat your spouse, Pastor Clive. So I know my wife likes certain chocolate bars, and she was working here today. I was at the dollar store. Actually, I buy this at the dollar store. Okay, folks. Folks think you got to go spend a whole lot of money to really create that act of intimacy. And I like what you said. Which we're going to talk a little bit about that too. Is what you're talking about is active intimacy. For me, buying that chocolate bar, I couldn't find the one that you really like, but I know she liked this other one, right? I'm not going to tell you folks because next thing you know, you go to a dollar store and I can't find my chocolate bars, right? But so I bought this chocolate bar, and she was having a little bit of a hard time here at work with everything. And I laid it on the before I could even lay it on the desk. She was so appreciative, and I'm just saying that to let folks know that it's not the big things that will really create that active. That in itself, as simple as it is creating an act of intimacy. Loving your wife, having like if my wife, she wakes up in the morning and sometimes I might be sleeping, sometimes I might be up, but if she don't give me a good night kiss before she leave in the morning, says so what happened? You didn't kiss me this morning. I didn't get my hug this morning. And the reason why I'm saying that is because you got to realize that when we leave our home, we have no guarantee of coming back. This could
That's
be
right.
the last time. This could be the last time that you see your spouse. So how would you want to leave, knowing that this could be a last time? So going back to a comment that we made earlier about intimacy killers, and about the hugging part of it. Yvonne Campbell. For some reason she can't get online, but I told her, feel free to put her comments in the chat, so she's part of it also. So she mentioned here that when it comes to the hugging, reluctance in hugging, it also could be a result of earlier mishaps, that could have taken place, and thus it becomes a trigger. So if for a person to help to navigate through that also, we mentioned baby steps, but then the question might be, so what are those baby steps? Well, sometimes that's where a therapist comes in that deals with trauma that someone might realize, that might think they've gotten over, but they're still not over it yet. So when it comes to a coach or a counselor, a therapist, I have certain boundaries, right? I won't coach individuals that have deep trauma. They need to that's my boundary. I will send them to the counselor that deals with those specific issues, or to a therapist, and while they're being served with them and being helped in that respect, then I will help support them now with that. But they first have to go there and get that help, and then I support them along the way. So triggers, definitely. And we talked about intimacy killers, as you was mentioning here also, is criticism. I mean, honey, if the wife is always criticizing the man, and have throughout a whole day, you don't have hardly, you don't give me no compliment. You'd be surprised how many relationship, just couples that I've known, that where they lack compliments in their own home. They lack that affirmation, that time of, that husband telling them how they look, and how they feel about them. They will hear that on the outside of the home, but they want to hear that on the inside of the home. So if you can compliment me in my own, I'd rather hear it from you than actually hear it from someone else. And so that's how it is. Husbands, learn how to compliment your wife. That is an act of intimacy. You want to make love in the night, but what have you been doing during the day? What have you been doing the previous day? She's not one that you can just turn on and turn off. Yes, Pastor Clive, you're right. Us men, you can just turn us off, and we're just ready to go. Sorry, folks, that's just how most of us men are wired, right? But when it comes to the spouse, now, you know what? You're going to have to take your time. You have to create that act, whereas you'll get what you want, but there's some work that you have to do, right? So what can hold back an individual from accepting what the spouse have to offer to them? It's all about how they are treated. So
That's
Pastor
right.
Clive, in First Corinthians 7, around First Corinthians 7, about 3 to 5. So anyone who ignores his spouse uh, needs for physical and sexual intimacy, they're on the borderline of walking into sin. And the reason why I'm saying that, when you read that scripture, First Corinthians 7, from about verse 3 to 5, it says, "Let the husband render to his wife the affection due her. This is from another version. And likewise also the wife to her husband. The wife does not, hear this, folks, the wife does not have authority over her own body. Yeah, her body is hers, but it also belongs to the husband. But the husband does also, right? And likewise, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife also. So it says, don't deprive one another except for consent for a time. So, honey, wife, if you've been holding out on your husband, and husband, if you've been holding out for extended period of your wife, well, first of all, when it comes to scripture, we're talking to those that are Christian, those that are faith-based. When it comes to that, you're on the verge of, you're on the borderline, you're a virgin of sinning, because your body does not belong to you. Your body belongs to your wife, and your wife belongs to you. You're free in the context and the confinement of the areas that you might be in to explore her body any way that you want. I'm not here to tell folks this or that. That you need to know what's acceptable for each of you. So give us some insight on that, Pastor Clive, on 1 Corinthians 7:3-5. When it comes to the wife, body belong to the husband body belong to the wife, and refraining from one another. There should be only a period of time that you refrain. And according to the Bible, it's only if you're praying and fasting. So I can go to my wife. I'm just using for an example. I can go to my wife and say, why are you withholding yourself from me? Are you praying? No. Are you fasting? No. Okay. You know what? We need to create some action.
There's two sides to that coin, and I want us to look at it from two sides.
Absolutely.
We have to be not biased as men. We have to, again, going back to setting the ambience, setting the stage, being softer, like make that side of you comes out. Some person expect to quarrel and then go home and make up. Some ladies are not wired like that. Some men are not wired like that. They argue and then 1 minute from the argument and then go to the bedroom. Some people together, that's how they're wired. So, and then, you may be like that, whether you're a man or a woman, and then you're trying to do the makeup and it's not working, and the person is having more pain within themselves, want to resolve whatever conflict that transpired yesterday or day before shop is locked. Right? So it is important for us to make sure that whatever would cause the shop to lock, the husband cannot refrain and the wife not to refrain. But remember, we're human beings.
Absolutely.
We still have the feelings. And I, as a man, I can't say that happened to me and my wife, so it don't really happen. It's just I was not born in the church. I'm a man came from the world, so okay. I can use my past experience. I've been living with females since I was 16, 17 years old, and then I got saved. And I have a child before I even get saved, right? But nobody gonna come to me and tell me that I want to make love with you, just cuss me out. They ain't gonna work. No. You know what I mean? We need to fix whatever the issue is. Now, you have some man who is different. They will just ready to run right into it. However, the Bible is saying something that where husband and wife, you can't withhold from the husband, and likewise the same. Right. But we also got to remember that the same scripture goes on and said, don't let the sun go down on your wrath. You have to help your wife or your husband to be saved as well, knowing that you are the one are causing her to feel like this, feeling the pain. And there's no fun in making love with somebody where the person is just lying dead. Take it because it's yours.
Right.
You know, you've got to bring the spice into it. You've got to. I don't, Elder. I don't know what it is to have that, and I give God thanks again for my wife,
Amen.
because
Right.
you know we you know the communication. Sometimes during the daytime we speak like 2-3 times before the end of the day, and you know, sweetheart, even for 1 minute, you know, we're just
Mhm.
touching base, so forth and so on. Sometimes it's just for whatever reason. Sometimes there's no reason. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
She'll call and say, "Are you busy?" No. Even sometimes I'm busy, I'm like, "No, I'll take a minute. How are you doing?" Right? And talk to the person. What am I
Take it.
saying is that you want to keep that spark going so that when it's time, I'm talking about that time where Paul what Paul is saying, that don't do any refraining. Don't don't let that husband, you know, have to go across the fence. Now
Mm.
lock in shop, right? And I know we're supposed to be Christian, but you have some man out there that is their eyes are all over the place. And
Absolutely.
then if your eyes are all over the place, then your wife is saying to you, "Hey, you know what? You have cheated in the past, and now you're trying to build back the relationship, and the
Mm.
trust is not there." These things will cause person to close down, and these are reality. You know, we're here trying to say, "Oh, we speak in tongues and we're Santa." No, no, no. There are real life situations, and these are stuff that we have to be careful and to make sure that if you want, this is my I wish Sister Yvonne was here, but
I'll read the comments
this is
shortly.
my motto that I usually use. For me, I says, if I will feel any way bad if I say certain things to my wife,
Mm-hmm.
or if she says certain things to me, why do it? I'm trying to go home and don't fix it before that time of intimacy to come.
Right.
You have to fix whatever the problem is,
Right.
right? But you have some person that find it hard. And I want to go back to something that you said earlier, Elder, is that you have some people who have grown up in houses where mother and father are not touchy feely,
Mm.
and they have not um, embrace certain things. And we as Christians get saved and in the church, and the church don't deal with these things. And then you find two people and you get them married and they're having problems and they're having fuss and they're having fight and all that. So you married a man got married to a young lady that
Mm-hmm.
when I married to my wife, I know she was a virgin. She's no experience. So I have to now be more
Tender.
tender and more, you
Ladies
know,
first.
and
Ladies first.
warm her up and try to make her makes you feel comfortable,
Ladies first.
right? But the church world make it look as if we, and I'm not knocking church world. I'm just saying that we as Christians need to understand that there are certain things that we need to put in place for those that are coming into this thing so that we don't set them up for failure. Let them know the real thing. Let them know if you do this, this is what's going to happen. If you do this, this is what's going to happen. If you look across the fence, your wife won't trust you. I don't care how much you're a breadwinner. She won't. She will not trust you for the rest of your life. She will not trust you with a female dog. I'm telling you that. She will look at you funny forever. Now, a lady or a man who grew up, as I was saying, Elder, in a home that is toxic, and there's no love, there's nothing showing. I'm telling you, that person is going to have issues in marriage.
Unless I hear exactly what you're saying, Pastor Clive. I said this the other day too. If that person is mature enough, he's seeing this toxic relationship. But if he's wise enough, and depends his the group that he hangs around and his relationship that he have with others, he can have a made up mind and say that is exactly what I do not want when I have a relationship.
That's right.
Now many times it might not turn out that way because there's a pattern that was built up. The father's mistreating the wife, and his father or whatever was mistreating his wife, and it's a pattern. But there comes a time when somebody have to break that pattern. And when individuals come into church that had seen those patterns before, they can have a made up mind with the help of God that, Lord, you know what, I'm in this thing, and you know what, I do not want to take the pattern after the relationship that I've seen, because that is not a godly relationship. And what you're saying about, yeah, with the church, I totally agree with you. Growing up, and even when I got married, I never had no premarital counseling like some are having today. I just had a good example from my parents. So I patterned after that, and then grew from that and developed other things from that. So but as you grow, you can decide, okay, you want to learn more about marriage, but nobody's reading about marriage. You want to learn about marriage, but nobody's looking up any YouTube stuff or whatever the case might be on good marital relationship. So in our society today, if you don't know, there's actually no excuse why you should not know, because there is enough information out there to show you and to tell you how a husband, a man should treat his wife, and how a wife should treat her husband. There is enough out there for you to help eliminate some of the issues that might come upon you. I want to touch on some things you mentioned about trust, which I was going to bring up too, but I want to just respond to Yvonne Campbell. She's still with us. She's not online, but she's in the group here. So we talked about physical nakedness. She said we talked about that could be because of shame. It's an environment where men, why it's shameful sometimes for women to be naked, or vice versa. But prefer for the women, it says physical nakedness without shame is best in an environment where men can appreciate the physical changes in our body. So when men can't appreciate the changes in their body, in the body of their spouse, as you're saying earlier, now it's going to cause that individual either to support that individual. You know what? She might have had a figure eight or a Coke bottle size when you got married, but you know what? Afterwards, she has children, and maybe she might have put on a bit of weight, and vice versa also. And you can't afford to look at that individual differently, because you married them because of the character. So their body might not have been how it was in the beginning, but you can't allow that to shut down acts of intimacy which you need to create. If you shut down that act of intimacy based on their body size, your physical size, you're going to have a relationship that's just going to end up being roommates instead of being soulmates. You're going to have struggles. You're going to have conflicts down the road, all because you have not learned to accept what God has placed in your life. I'm just going to read out some comments with Yvonne there. She's still part of us again. It says men are more prone. You're right, Sister Campbell. Men are more prone to use sex or as a makeup strategy. I want to make love to you because I want to make up. No, you better create the act first before you tell me you want to make up. Women want to trash things out and get an apology, and then the woman will open up. If she doesn't see or hear the apology that needs to come to her, and again, Sister Campbell, it's not a matter of saying I'm sorry. What is the apology language? Okay, you're sorry. So okay, what are you sorry for? Moving forward, if the same situation, which is what I usually use sometime in coaching work, if the same situation came up tomorrow, so really, what would be different? What would change? Would it be the same sorry? So I need to hear, if you're sorry, give me some content as to why you were sorry, number one, and what kind of change is going to follow based on you telling me you're sorry. And after you have done that, then I am willing to open up. But even then, it's going to take me time to fully open up 100%. I will still support you. I will still go to the love making with you. But still, you know what? It's not like I'm going to get over everything just overnight. There's when you mentioned about trust, Pastor Clive, and about my mind went back to, so when infidelity is another intimacy killer.
Oh yes.
When you can't, when you can't get what you want at home for whatever reason, the husband maybe is not listening to what the wife is saying, and there's that don't care attitude or lack of care and lack of listening to the spouse. They end up going on the outside now, end up being talking to someone, end up creating a conversation. Next, you know, that conversation is on the borderline of infidelity. It's on that conversation is on the borderline of what we call an emotional affair. Yes, you did not have sex with that individual, but there's an emotional affair that has taken place, which can lead to something. Once that emotional affair starts, you're open up a door for an area where you just don't want to go. And you know, I've known others in the past where they've come back where forgiveness was there, but because I forgive you, honey, don't expect me to trust you right away. So just because you forgive, trust doesn't come automatically when you forgive. You want to be intimate, and I know you're buying me the flowers and everything else, and I appreciate that, and you're giving me my sweets, and you're doing everything right. But trust, you know, you have broken, once you've broken that trust, don't expect to get it back overnight. I will trust you, but now there's actions that has to follow for you to for me to be at that place where I can fully open up to you, because otherwise I'm just going through the motions. So
Just want to say this one thing here before you close off, about trust. Um, it's important for you to have trust in your relationship. There's two things that you can look at. Is that um, uh, uh, and let's just be real. It's not only a man will go there and do things. A lot of people
absolutely
will think that men are just, you know, like this.
right.
But I'm telling you, the devil don't care who he throw under the bus where that
Right.
is concerned.
Mhm.
Now, um, marriage is like a mirror, and when you go out on your spouse, and it's like a broken mirror. It doesn't matter how you're trying to piece it. You're gonna always see that double vision. You're gonna always you will never join back the same way. It's gonna always there reminding you
Yes.
of that's what this is, right?
Mm.
You're still using it, but it's already shattered. You splice it together. You already
Right.
piece it back together. And every time
Mm.
it happened, it keeps shattering. And now
Mm.
you're seeing multiple. The person is looking at you, and they're seeing multiple of you. Who is this person? You see, so it's important for you to keep it. That's one thing. The second thing is when I said to my wife when I was getting married to her, going on 10 years, 9, 10 years, is I said to her, I says, I will never live my life to please you. And she looked
Mm.
at me and said, no. I said, I'm going to live my life to please God. Because when I live my life to please God, the Bible said that when a man ways please God, his very enemy will be
Very
at
honest.
peace.
That's
So
right.
if I live my life to please God, I know for sure that by me pleasing God, I automatically will please you in every aspect of your life.
Mm.
And it works every time, because you will have if you will have a couple that, you know, the husband is striving to please the lady, and this relationship with God is nowhere near, and she desire to see that man that is building relationship with God, knowing that that's her safe haven, knowing that, listen, as long as he has a relationship with God, I can go to bed and sleep when he doesn't come home late at night.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
But if he has no relationship with God, she's sleeping with one eye closed and one eye open. And
And
it's sad to say, being in Christendom, sad to say, being in Christendom, you know. So, and let me say this: it doesn't matter if it's man or woman. And I know we're bringing this to a close. People will flirt. People will tell you how nice your smile is, whether you're married, yes or no. They
okay.
don't care. They don't care. I you know, person. I went to the store. This lady man, she loved my smile. And I've had a person tell me about this smile of mine. So
yeah, I've told you that, Pastor Clive. I've known somebody very close to me says, yeah, his smile is kind of catchy. So yeah, you gotta be careful. You gotta watch yourself.
gotta watch myself, right? But I'm not gonna use the fact that a person may like my smile to lower somebody into, you know what I mean? Like, you have to love God. That's the bottom line of it. Love God 24/7. And when you love God, trust me, this thing will work.
When you said that, loving God, if you don't have that attitude to create intimacy with God, you'll many times lack creating intimacy with the one that God has placed in your life. Creating, like you mentioned, building a relationship with God. Like I've always said before, also that the man is the head of the home according to the Word of God, and his head is the Lord Jesus Christ, and the woman head is the man. And when the man is not submissive, or when the man is not in alignment with his head, Jesus Christ, there can be a domino effect that takes place. So if the man is not creating an intimacy with God, the one that has created him, the one that's breathed in him, the one that has called him out of darkness into this marvelous light. So how does one that's building a relationship with God create that act of intimacy with God? Number one, you definitely have to have a prayer life. How can you say that you love God, but you don't want to talk to him? How
That's right.
can you say you love him, but you don't want to you don't want to have a conversation with him? You love him and you talk to him, but many times you're talking to him so much, if you're not careful, you lose what he's got to say to you because you're always in a rush. And as a man, and as with a husband and wife also, you can be having conversation, but always in a rush. Sometimes my wife have to check me sometimes. Hey, you know what? Just stand still for a minute. Let's finish this conversation, because if you're not careful, life just seems to be rushy. A man having to create an intimate relationship with the Lord, but he's never at Bible study. He's never at prayer meeting. He doesn't show up on the Sunday morning or whenever service is, where the Bible said that forsake not the assembling of ourselves. These are all acts of intimacy, and there's nothing more of an intimate act is when a wife sees her husband on his knees talking to God. That in his alone just give her a peace of mind, letting her know that he's not just building an intimacy with me, but he's first building an intimacy with God. And if he can get to that place where God wants him to be, you know what, down the road, I know that everything is going to be all right. Yvonne had she had something there, just basically confirming what we said. Intimacy with God first helps to create intimacy with the one who God gives you. So those men out there, you men out there, the Christian men that are out there, build your intimacy with God. Number one, what is your prayer life like? Do you have what we call a charge X prayer in the morning, where we check in and we check out, and we're so tired at night that we check out at the end of the night, because we've given ourselves to the world, we've given ourselves to our jobs and everything else, but God also wants to have some time with you. So what does the Bible say about intimacy? I'm just going to read a few scriptures as we're coming down, just to kind of close off there a little bit. Is Hebrews 13:4 said, let marriage be held in honor among all. Let the marriage bed basically be undefiled, for God will judge the sexually immoral and the adulterous. In Proverbs 5:18-19, it says, let your fountain be blessed and rejoice. Rejoice in the wife of your youth. So, Pastor Clive, so she's old now. Am I not supposed to still rejoice? Yeah, we don't have the same shape, but you know what? I rejoice in the wife of my youth. But as the year goes on, I appreciate her more as the time, because we have matured together. We have grown together. So I can rejoice when you're young, honey, and I can still rejoice now when we're 50s and when we're 60s that I'm still glad to have you a part of my life. Sometimes for intimacy acts, Pastor Clive, we just gotta switch it up. I got something coming up from my wife that she doesn't know about. If she listens to the program here, she'll be in suspense as to what. But sometimes you just gotta switch things up instead of doing the same old, same old. We can clock you what you do on Monday. We can clock you what you do on Tuesday. And 2, 3, 4 months from now, we're still clocking you exactly the pattern that you have. Sometimes we just need to switch it up to create a different act of intimacy. We talked about Corinthians that be about not depriving yourself. And how can our behavior, so man, husband, you're praying until the cows come home, but yet still you're not treating your wife right.
That's right.
You're praying and you're talking in tongues from morning till night, but yet still your wife is being resentful because of how you have treated her. So how does our behavior, Pastor Clive, hold back our prayers, which we feel they're going to be answered? We have confirmation or think we have confirmation going to be answered, but yet still our behavior is not right when it comes to our spouse.
Well, one scripture that kind of shocked the life out of me when I read it, that if I do not treat my wife good, in a nutshell, I'm paraphrasing, that my prayers will be in dirt.
Right.
So treat her in whatever capacity. That's just the bottom line of just not treating her right, not being the person that I ought to be in her life. So it is important for us as men to make sure that the lady that you have taken out of her father's house, out of her mother's house, or out of her single house, wherever she was, is your responsibility to make sure she feels safe and secure, feeling, feeling like she is the number one, she's the queen, everything, you name it. And, there's so much more to say in this kind of session, Elder. We need more than an hour to really kind of dive into it, because this world need more of this platform to deal with the issues of life that is really happening in the church world, and persons are turning their eyes away from it and speaking in tongues and not dealing with the issue at hand. These things need to be, to avoid fornication. Paul says, let every man have his own wife.
Right.
And let every woman have his own. So it is important for us to be able to dive into these sessions and to be able to have even platforms that you can talk. But persons are afraid, they don't want to put their stuff out there.
Right.
And that's not what we're saying. This is a platform. You're there, person can call you and says, listen, we need help. Because if we don't get help today, next year I don't know where I'm going to be.
Right.
You know what I mean? I remember, again, going back to 10 years ago when you were counseling us, you're saying that, in that time, there were young men that were getting married and their wives were more spiritual than the men. And I said to you, I remember saying to you, I said, that would never happen.
Right.
Not in my house. Why? Right. Because I've got to be that protector, that person who's covering. And I told you my thought on Corinthians 11, that, a lady may cover her head with physical hat and beat the husband and come at church and speak in tongues. I said, that won't happen in my house. You got to make sure that I am your covering. When you walk out there, you are covered by me, your husband. Anyways, there's so much to be said around that. So
no, and there's been good conversation on the Iron Man show that you have in the morning too, that covers relationship issues and whatnot. And the scripture that you mentioned, for those that are listening, is found in 1 Peter 3:7, which says, "Husbands, likewise dwell with them with understanding, that's giving honor to the wife." So, Pastor Clive, it's the same with me too. When I was reading that here a little while ago, I began to open up a little bit. So what does it mean to dwell with them with understanding and giving honor to the wife? And it put me in my track. It stopped me in my track because I'm asking myself the question, and men, you need to ask yourself the question: do I really understand my wife? Do I really know my wife? Because if I'm going to dwell with them with understanding, giving honor, I can give them honor, but at the same time, I want to understand them. You could be married for 10 years. There's more there that you're going to understand about your wife. There's more that you're going to know about her. You could be married like myself for 36 years. And, just some time back, I'm just finding out some other things. And the reason why I didn't know, because we think everything was okay back then, but I wasn't asking the right question to go below the surface to really get a full understanding. So it says, dwell with them, dwell with your spouse with understanding. When you have that full understanding of who is beside you, you can give them the honor that they deserve. Giving now honor to the wife. Understanding first, honor comes after. It says, as to the weaker vessels, and as being heirs together in the grace of life. Because Paul says here now, that Peter says here, that your prayers may not be hindered, as you have mentioned. If you don't understand your wife and if you don't honor your wife, don't expect your prayers to be answered. You can be praying from now until the cows come home, but your prayers will be hindered. You need to go
Man,
back and make things right. You need to go back and apologize for what you have done, what you have said. Pastor Clive, as of recent, and I'd mentioned this earlier, I start checking in on myself every week and going back to my wife actually. And what I'm doing, I keep my own personal journal where that's concerned of how have I behaved to my wife this week? What have I said that maybe I could have said differently? So if we don't check ourselves and then get her to hold you accountable, or somebody to hold you, if you don't check yourself as to how you are behaving, because 2023, as I've said, 2023 is expecting husbands and wives a different version of you than you had in 2022. God is expecting something different from you, something not necessarily new, but for you now to fully know who you are, so you can treat your spouse as he had meant them for you to be treated. So I check myself, excuse me, and just shortly a while ago I had said something. It didn't mean much to my wife. It didn't offend her or whatever, but I felt a check in my spirit, and I went back to her and said, you know what, I said this, but I shouldn't have said that. I should have worded it this way. What am I doing? We're talking about being naked and not ashamed. I'm talking about, these are little intimacy skills that is happening in what I am trying to do in my relationship, because I love my wife and I want to live the rest of my days out with her. So in closing, Sister Campbell put in the chat the understanding of whom the wife is, amen, and her needs. Oh, yes. Thanks for the reminder, Sister Campbell. And her love language and her role in being your helper. If you don't know, men, if you don't know what your wife's love language is, I'm advocating men and women to go read this book. I think it's by Gary Chapman. It's called The Five Love Language. If you read that book, it can change your relationship. It'll change the way how you think, because you might not even know what your wife's love language is right now. And what I mean by love language, what is it that really speaks to her innermost being? I might be bringing her flowers every day, but really she just wants quality time. And if I don't know that, I'll continue to do what I think is right, and I continue to do what I think is pleasing to her. But that's not her love language. And there's 5 different love languages. One that's affirmation. There's one that's acts of service. There's gifts. There's quality time. Um, and I forget just off the top of my head now, but there's 5 different love languages. Get to know what your wife, what your spouse love language is. So in closing, Pastor Clive, just a few little remarks I have here is: give your spouse the attention he or she needs, number one. Enjoy each other. Take the time, plan some getaway. Be creative. Do whatever is necessary that you feel to be committed to your wife, and Renew your vows. You might not have to do anything splashy or whatever, but it could be small or whatever you want to do. It could be just both of you just on the beach somewhere or whatever, but just renew what you have always have. Don't take one another for granted. And at the end of the day, when you leave your wife, when you say goodbye, even in the morning, you've got to realize tomorrow is not promised. That could be the very last time that you've seen her. And what regrets would you have? So, in order not to have no regrets, as Dr. Laura would say, go do the right thing. Thanks, Pastor Clive, for joining tonight. Appreciate your comments. And Sister Campbell, I so miss you being on live. Even though you're in the chat, it was good, but it's just not the same. She's a woman that have a wealth of knowledge. She has a program called Marriage Matters. She is the founder of it, and that's an international program that they have. Basically, sometime I've been on there, there's been sometimes close to 100 different couples on there. And this is something that she started just in a small group and how it expanded. So as you said, Pastor Clive, what we're talking about today, sometimes you don't hear that in the church, you don't hear that from others, but what we're talking about is needed. And we just continue to do what we are doing and continue to make a difference in our lives. For those that are listening, I make myself available. We can have a free consultation if you're having issues in your relationship, if you're just feeling stuck in your relationship, if you're whatever the case might be, whatever issue you might be having, we can have a conversation. The same too if you're an individual and if you're planning on going into your relationship. So we do some premarital coaching also with different exercise to help you maneuver through life. If you can do this in the earliest stage, it's going to make a difference at the end of the road. Know what your requirements are, know what your wants are, know what your needs are, and everything will line up with the help of God. So thanks again, Reverend O'Shane in the background. Appreciate your help in the background. Sorry for the inconvenience at the beginning, but we will talk again coming up in the very near future. I have a very good friend, coach friend of mine, Heather Pieknak. We'll be having a program called Wives Superpowers, and we'll be expressing some intimacy skills that she has on her program. So thank you very much, each and every one of you. Thanks for joining in, and we'll talk again soon. God bless.
Right. God bless you.
Appreciate you, Pastor Clive.
Thank you for listening to the program Transforming Your Relationships with Elder Bonitto Grange. Join us again next Friday at 5:30 for another program. You're tuned to Higher Ground Gospel Radio, reaching at the highest mountain and the lowest valley. Stay tuned, my friends.
Say.